Today, we're running through and reacting to the new article from ARK Invest from their analyst Sam Kouros. How ARK is thinking about humanoid robotics. As Elon Musk said during Tesla's first quarter earnings call, quote, "If you've got a sentient humanoid robot that is able to navigate reality and do tasks at request, there is no meaningful limit to the size of the economy." Musk was sharing a vision that we believe is turbocharging the robotics industry, creating new robotics companies and increasing venture investments focused on its promise. No, it's interesting, isn't it? A Musk-led company turbocharging investment in an industry. I feel like we've heard this story before. While Musk is envisioning humanoid robots that exceed human capability, even before that moment in time, if humanoid robots are able to operate at scale, they could generate around $24 trillion in revenues, split roughly equally between household and manufacturing robotics, according to ARK's research. So let's have a look at this table. Generalizable robotics represent a potential $24+ trillion global revenue opportunity. And again, ARK were describing this before they've exceeded human capability. Let's have a look at this. On the left, we have household robotics. The math here, around 2.3 hours of unpaid work per day, times 2.8 billion working age population, times $10.75 weighted average hourly wage, multiplied by half the value attributed to free time versus paid time, equals a $12.5 trillion opportunity. So let me just translate in case anyone's like, what the fuck are they talking about? ARK appear to be estimating the value of the time saved to the average person at a weighted average hourly rate if they have a household robot. In other words, if you've got a household robot, they can do a couple hours of work for you at home per day. What is the value? Keeping in mind, they're halving this. Now, to size this, ARK have estimated that the entire Robotaxi opportunity globally over the ultra long term, about an 11, 12 trillion opportunity. So just household robots, and this is before they've exceeded human capabilities, already larger than autonomy. And then we get to manufacturing robotics. I'm going to read this. Listen closely. ARK forecasts global manufacturing GDP at around $28.5 trillion in 2030. Big number. So what we're looking at here, productivity uplift versus take rate. In essence, how much more productive do humanoid robots need to be for a meaningful increase in take rate? Obviously, at the extremes, if a humanoid robot working in your factory actually drags productivity down, there's going to be zero take rate. Why would you pay for something that's unproductive? What we're looking at here, revenue opportunity in billions of dollars. So a 10% productivity uplift, ARK estimating a 10% take rate, $286 billion revenue opportunity. Now put that in context. Tesla as an entire company right now, roughly about $100 billion a year of revenue, mostly selling vehicles. And one thing that I want to explain regarding productivity, unlike a humanoid robot can probably work more than, give or take, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Instead of getting a 40-hour work week, maybe you get an 80 or 100+ hour work week, meaning even if a humanoid robot is significantly slower performing tasks, if it can work 2.5, 3 times as much per week, it can more than make up for that. And this is important. It means the bar is a lot lower for an actual productivity uplift. Now, there'll be some situations where you can't slot a humanoid robot in if it's super fucking slow, but there'll be some situations where you can. Imagine you have a humanoid robot and its job is to just keep some streets clean, to pick up litter, trash, right? It doesn't matter if it's really fucking slow compared to a human. If it can work 3 times as much in a single week, non-stop, 24 hours a day, it can in essence be about 3 times slower and still on par in terms of productivity. But there's also the cost. It doesn't cost much. You don't have to pay it a salary, right? But where things really start to get absurd, based on ARK's estimate, with a 50 to 100% productivity uplift, take rates in the 20 to 50% range, we're already talking nearly $3 to $7 trillion at a 50% productivity uplift. At 100% productivity, we're now talking between roughly $6 and $14 trillion. 200% up to nearly $30 trillion and a 400% productivity uplift. In the extreme case, nearly $60 trillion of revenue opportunity. Not bad. The way that ARK have come up with this $12 trillion opportunity for commercial robots is just averaging these 6 green cells. And keep in mind, from a business point of view, like if you're talking about a manufacturing robot, and to be clear, that's all they were describing here. It wasn't any of the other potential tasks, but just in manufacturing. If you as a company are weighing up the decision as to whether or not to purchase a humanoid robot, you're thinking about productivity. What's it going to cost and what's it going to produce? The end. It's unlike a consumer who may have more emotional reasons. Business decisions much more rational. Once humanoid robots can do useful tasks in manufacturing, useful enough but there's an increase in productivity over a human, you now immediately have to ask the question, is this going to be more economical to purchase than having a person doing this same job? If the answer is yes, I'd have to be dumb not to replace them with a useful humanoid robot. And the greater the productivity uplift, obviously the higher the take rate will be. I mean, in an extreme situation, eventually, there's probably going to be 100% robots and 0% humans doing jobs, and productivity uplift is going to be many hundreds of percent. In this article, we focus on the robotics opportunity in US manufacturing. According to our research, the US manufacturing sector employs nearly 12 million people who work for around 23 billion hours per year for around $785 billion in pay to produce output worth around $2.4 trillion. In the unlikely event that it were to substitute robots for all human workers and put them to work for 16 hours per day, the manufacturing sector would need only around 5.9 million robots, half the number of human workers employed today, to deliver the same level of manufacturing output as shown below. Well, yeah, duh. They're working twice as much and they're equally productive. Thank you, Captain Obvious. If you want to pause the video, feel free. I'm going to move down. I mean, this is pretty basic stuff. The point is, useful humanoid robots, keyword they're useful, will, in the future, be replacing human jobs at scale. In a much more likely scenario, humanoid robots will debut at higher price points and be much less capable than their human counterparts. According to our research, humanoid robots will become more economically viable than human employees at a tipping point when their net present value balances the cost of the humanoid robots against the productivity gain they will enable. At a cost of $16,000, for example, as in for the robot, a humanoid robot would have to deliver little more than a 5% gain in productivity relative to its human counterpart to become economically viable. And again, this robot can be working at least twice as much in a single week. So to underscore this point, if a humanoid robot, even if it's almost like half as productive, if it can work just over twice as many hours per week, suddenly you've already breached this 5% overall productivity increase. And suddenly, at $16,000, it's viable, even for that piss poor increase. And again, that's assuming it's taking nearly twice as long to do the same work, but working double the hours. And here we have humanoid robot cost in terms of net present value and productivity uplift. So if you've got a productivity uplift of 1%, there's a mismatch between the cost of a humanoid robot and its value, okay? Simple stuff. How much is this thing going to bring in terms of productivity, profit, revenue, whatever you want to think about in the future, based on its productivity uplift and purchase price. If it's red, it's no good. It doesn't make sense. However, from this $16,000 range all the way up to a $228,000 purchase price, which, come on, bro, ain't going to be that much. But the point here, a $16,000 humanoid robot actually becomes viable around that 10% productivity uplift point. It needs to be more productive if you're paying 40 grand, but not that much more. From 10% to 15% still viable. And things obviously get batshit insane. To illustrate the point, imagine a $40,000 humanoid robot. It's likely to be more affordable than that over time, but let's just say it's $40,000, yet you got a 400% productivity uplift. In essence, as a business, you're looking at paying $40,000 for an asset with a value of about $2 million. That is what we call a no fucking brainer. But even with a 50% uplift, if you're paying 40 grand, $200,000, you have to have rocks in your head as a business not to be all over this. The opportunity here is astronomical, but it's all tied to productivity. The purchase price, I mean, you can eat that away over time depending on the productivity. As we see here, even a nearly $230,000 humanoid robot can justify its cost if it's increasing its productivity versus human by around 75%. And by the way, the closest estimates now for the total bill of materials, the cost to produce Tesla's Optimus bot, somewhere around that $50,000 to $60,000 range. And this is like early. Things are going to get wild, folks. As we put the tipping point model into real-world context, two variables in manufacturing are important to consider: company size and labor share, the share of revenue going to compensate labor. Company size. Unlike in small firms where employees are likely to, quote, wear more than one hat, large manufacturing firms are organized by specialized and automated tasks. As a result, over time, their productivity has been more than twice as high as the smallest firms. I mean, this is obvious, right? You think about it. A well-oiled machine with clearly defined roles where people specialize doing what they're absolutely incredibly good and competent at, efficient, versus running around like a fucking madman, wearing 100 different hats in a day. You're obviously going to have higher overall productivity per employee. Specialization and automation give large firms the wherewithal to scale significantly and, in turn, lower labor costs as a share of revenue. Consequently, and somewhat counterintuitively, large companies typically pay higher wages than small firms because automating specific tasks typically boosts the productivity in large firms more than in small firms, as ARC have illustrated in the charts below, showing what happens when you automate tasks and the productivity improvement depending on which task we're talking about here. If you guys want to pause and soak it all up, go for it. But what they're looking at here on the left here, 2 employees doing the same shit. They're doing everything, manufacturing each, packaging each, distribution each, reporting each. You're going to have 40% of your revenue cost eaten away by labor costs versus a company with specialized employees specializing in one task, manufacturing only, packaging only, distribution only, reporting only. Now, you got more revenue and labor is a lower percentage of revenue. Obvious things are obvious. The chart here, US manufacturing annual payroll per employee, and this is based on company size, smaller companies on the left, the largest companies on the right. So let's just say an average of roughly 70,000, but keep in mind the bigger companies would skew this, so it's probably actually closer to 80, but let's not get too far down in the weeds. The point here is, if you're a company and you're paying, let's just say $70,000 a year on average per employee, and that's per year, I want to underscore that. That same employee, you retain them for a decade, you're now looking at like $700,000, not including inflation, probably pushing towards $1 million by then. So your decision is, okay, I'm looking at an employee that's going to cost me close to $1 million over the next 10 years. How much can I buy one of those robots for once? And what will I have to pay for the software to operate every month? Is it less than close to $1 million? It is? I might consider that. Because generalized automation solutions, those for multiple tasks, have not evolved as quickly as automation solutions for specific tasks. Small firms typically have a disproportionate number of automatable but not yet automated tasks that would benefit from generalizable solutions like humanoid robots. Labor share. Compensation as a share of revenue varies dramatically by sub-industries in the manufacturing sector. In 2021, it ranged from 3% in tobacco manufacturing and 6% in grain and oilseed milling, aka the diabetes and obesity industries. Wait, what? In machine shops, it gets to 37% and around 40% in apparel knitting mills, as we see below in this chart. Share of output by manufacturing costs. Labor costs as a percent of the total cost, right? So companies with the highest labor costs in terms of their overall costs, e.g. apparel, machine shops, return products, etc., they're going to be the lowest hanging fruit. Of course, nailing extremely dexterous hands is going to be very important for a humanoid robot to disrupt these jobs. Thanks to their more specialized employment positions, large manufacturers typically benefit more than small companies from single-task automation solutions and enjoy lower labor costs relative to revenues. With less job specialization, small manufacturers are burdened with higher labor costs and therefore are likely to benefit disproportionately from more generalized humanoid robots. And this chart here, labor share of revenue by firm size. On the left, obviously, the smaller firms. On the right, the larger firms. You can see labor costs for small companies in excess of 30%, larger companies, sub 20%. Interestingly, according to ARC's research, 40% of US manufacturing employees work in small firms. In other words, they will get the biggest bang for buck by replacing these humans with robots. Looking at US manufacturing employment in this chart, and on the left, we have companies with less than 500 employees. The total number of employees here absolutely dwarfing everything else. I mean, if you tallied up all the companies, 500 plus employees, all the way to 20 plus thousand, you'd have a comparable number to the total from people employed at companies with less than 500 employees. So this right here is a massive opportunity. Remember, these companies get a lower return on replacing humans with humanoid robots. These companies get the most bang for buck. Look at the opportunity here. Massive. This is why a generalized robot is important, by the way. If it's specialized, it's not going to be able to come in here and disrupt a lot of these jobs. But if it's generalized, you'll be able to start slotting these things in all kinds of different small businesses where they will get the biggest return, where it will make the most economic sense for them to implement humanoid robots. Potential tailwinds for humanoid robotics. In the aftermath of the plague and the supply chain shocks due to the futile, fascist and inhumane lockdowns, onshoring and labour shortages could provide meaningful tailwinds for humanoid robots, lowering management's sensitivity to their price and thereby accelerating the transformation of manufacturing. As a result, our research suggests that the market value of generalizable robots could scale into the tens of trillions of dollars. The biggest question now is how quickly will AI software enable human-like performance across the subsectors of manufacturing and beyond? And that, folks, really is the question. The intelligence and the capability of these robots is what's really going to matter. Keyword here, intelligence. Does anyone happen to know any companies, by the way, that have demonstrated their ability to develop intelligence in terms of AI in the real world, solving vision in particular, who also happen to have expertise at manufacturing products at scale? And bonus, if they also happen to have some expertise in manufacturing products at scale that happen to contain lithium-ion batteries, and a computer to run the AI, and wait, massive bonus points if in addition to that, they also happen to have factories where manufacturing jobs exist today, so they could in fact become their own first customer. And while we're in these red zones, it's not a problem because these red zones are actually them making their product more useful to eventually sell them to external customers when they start reaching these white zones. Does anyone know any companies like that? Because holy fuck, I would like to buy a little bit of their stock. If anyone happens to know any companies, please put their name in the comments. That'd be cool. Thanks. I mean, I don't really want to miss out on this multi-decker trillion-dollar opportunity. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. And I haven't missed a daily video in more than 3 years. Must be a coincidence, right? Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. But don't take my word for it. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. By the way, viewer, that makes 2 of us. On to the next. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. This viewer's been taking AG1 for 8 months and says, what an investment. Another. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR or I can keep going. Plenty more to come. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. If you're still skeptical, hey, I don't blame you. Everyone on the planet seems to be promoting AG1 now, but guess what? They weren't nearly 3 years ago when I had this to say privately to my Patreon audience before there was a relationship, when I was asked about what I was doing for my health, energy, and so on. Just sharing my genuine, honest thoughts about a product I'd recently discovered that was at the time called Athletic Greens, now AG1. If I could only recommend one supplement to take, Athletic Greens, and I'm not getting paid to say this, Athletic Greens is a fucking game changer. I cannot believe how effective this is. No longer having a lack of energy in the afternoons. It's fucking amazing. There's only one thing to recommend seriously. Try Athletic Greens. You won't go back. So obviously, just like Elon Musk is a liar, a fraud, a con man, a scammer, a fake engineer, and Tesla's going bankrupt, you shouldn't trust that guy from about 3 years ago who, without any financial incentive, was promoting this product to his audience on Patreon when they were asking about health and what he's doing for supplements. Because obviously, there was some other reason he recommended that, obviously. Not sure what it was, but don't trust that guy. And all the testimonials, like my mental game has improved with AG1. I feel better than ever. I'm so impressed I've bought it for both my parents. I feel more focused and have better digestion. Incredible difference. No more afternoon fatigue. It's relieved gut issues. These are all just obviously fake testimonials from fake people. Right? Wrong. Just try it. Unless you hate yourself. If you hate yourself and you don't even want to risk possibly feeling better, this is not for you. But for everyone else, what's the worst that could happen? Try it for a month. See how you feel. It's a no-brainer. Just click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR. You'll get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 plus 5 travel packs. And you'll take the colossal risk that maybe you might have a similar experience to some of the people whose testimonials we've read in this video.